So we've been talking to inspirational people that inspire me, and that's what this YouTube channel is all about. It's about things that inspire me. Traveling inspires me. Beautiful countries inspire me. Athletes at Ironman races inspire me because they are people that just prove that anything is possible. And we've spoken to photographers. We've spoken to people that run Comrades Marathon to raise money for charities for SPCA. We spoke to a pastor last week who is just the coolest pastor on the planet because he's a surfer and a fisherman and a real guy. And there's a young lady that I've been following her career for quite some time now, and I'm so amazed at how well she's doing because she's so humble. She's also a coach. She works with a lot of athletes and gives them the opportunity to chase their dreams and their goals, all while she's trying to chase her own, which is amazing. Introduction like that. It's the one and only Magda Niewoudt. Thank you for making the time.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Gordon. Thanks. I really appreciated that you asked me to be on your show. That's awesome. I feel privileged.
Well, I mean, talking about things that inspire me, I love triathlon, and you're definitely one of my favorite pro triathletes on the circuit. And it's been very exciting to see how you progressed, through your triathlon career to where you went to the island of Niewoudt, Kona, and took part in the World Championships. We'll talk about that a bit later on. Let's just start. For those that haven't met Magda Niewoudt before, where did you go to school? Where are you from? And tell us about where you come from.
Well, I think not a lot of people would know where I come from because it's a very small little town. It's called Christiana, and it's close to Kimberley side, so it's more in the northwest. It's actually perfectly situated, like in the middle of three provinces. Like it depends actually where you live in the town because it's in northwest, but it's also on the border of Free State and Northern Cape. So yeah, so
Wow.
it's definitely like almost in the middle of the country, but it's a small little town, small schools. So I grew up there, and I was there for my whole school career, and which a lot of people always ask, like, why didn't you go to bigger schools because of sport? And a lot of actually, there was a trend going on when I was at school for if you're good in sports and so you go to bigger schools and so on. But for me, I think being in a small school, you learned a lot about creating stuff, about doing all different kinds of sports. Like I wasn't because
Yeah.
it's such a small school, so you need to be in the netball team, you need to be the runner, you need to be the best runner there is, you need to be in a swimming squad, so you just actually get the opportunity to do everything. And yeah, from there on, I went to I did all sports, obviously, that you can almost think of at
Right.
school.
Right.
And because it's such a small town, that's what you do almost, to keep busy. You outside, you swim, you bike. We didn't really bike, only were running. And then from there, I went to Northwest University to study sports science, and physiology. And yeah, and there, actually, I wanted always to do track running. So I was very into running, middle distance, 1,500 meter. So I was part of the university team. And then they started there wasn't actually a lot of girls doing the track running. So that's just me. So when we train, it's always me alone. And then they started the Northwest University Triathlon Club, and I was like, oh, and I will just join them for track
Wow.
sessions because
Wow.
it was like just easier. And so I joined them, and then yeah, that's actually how I got into triathlon. So in school I always did like biathlon, which was track running and pool swimming. I was
Yes.
always with like a multi-sport or always like something, but only when I was like 19 or thereabout, I actually got into cycling and triathlons.
Wow. Wow. And I think possibly doing all of those different sports and training with the boys a lot made you really tough, mentally tough. You had to put up with a lot of nonsense to get to the front of the pack.
Yeah, for sure. And always, like sometimes at school, when we're doing 1,500 meter track running, there were maybe like only two or three girls, and then say five boys or 6 boys running. So
Yeah.
they just threw us all together to like make it one big race. So
Yeah.
I was always like used to like running with like the boys, and like same at university. So always with the cycling. I remember when I started cycling, when you go out and it was just me and a lot of guys, and
Yeah.
that's how you actually learn how to cycle hard, because you just need to hold on to the wheel and you know, and like get into it. Like there's no, you can't like be at the back and trying to be soft, you know, you like to man up and like just
Yeah.
go for the for how hard ever you can go.
Did you make the boys cry when you started beating them and running and biking faster than them? Were they depressed? Did they all give up and go play rugby?
Yeah, almost like that.
I
No,
love it.
like it was. We still like. I'm still actually some of my training partners at university. We are still in contact, and yeah, it's just they are actually supporting me still. Like while doing this, they go like, "Oh, well done," you know, keep going. So that's actually very cool of them.
So you have a BSc in human movement, as you mentioned. How much does that sort of degree and that knowledge base influence you as an athlete, looking at your own performance, and then obviously trying to help your athletes that you coach?
Yeah, I think massively. Looking at my own performance, I'm always busy analyzing it. I'm always busy, like almost after every session, I'm like just like trying to tear it apart and go like, okay, how did you feel here or there? And that's actually one thing that I had to learn throughout the years, to go more a little bit on feeling as well,
Yeah,
especially
yeah,
finance. Because you always want to put a number on something, or there must be a reason for it. Like, say, for instance, you didn't have a good race, you immediately want the exact reason, the scientific reason for that. And there is, if you start like looking around, but sometimes it's just how it is, like it's just not your day.
yeah,
But yeah, working with my athletes, I'm a very number geek, but I also realized like a lot of the age groupers just do it also for fun. So I'm always like still trying to get that balance of being just a coach with working on feeling, and but still having the numbers as a sports scientist, because
yeah.
that's
Because
always
sometimes, coach, you have a fight with your wife, and you come to a training session, and you're emotionally not in a good place, and that can affect your performance. And there's no data for that.
exactly. So and that's such a yeah, good valid point you're making. And I'm always like struggling with the athletes, like if we do, because I focus a lot on heart rate training, because me myself struggled with a heart issue back in 2017, which made me realize and dig in, you know, deeper into how good it is to train like according to heart rate. And there you can see like athletes like they moan, they're like, they can't stick to this heart rate zone, they need to walk. And then I go like, okay, but how was work this week? And they were like, oh,
Yeah,
absolutely chaos. And I'm like,
yeah,
exactly. So
yeah.
it does affect you. So yeah, so it's good.
Yeah, I always think coaches, particularly coaches that work with athletes as you do, where you've got a full range of different abilities and different body types, and you fulfill so many jobs. You know, as you say, you're the data geek that looks at their numbers and says, right, we need to work harder here, we need to slack off there. But you've also got to be almost like a mom and a psychologist and a counselor as well when you work with other people. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think you play a big part in like making them feel better actually. And that's going to be a ripple effect in their lives, paying it forward to whoever they work with or family. Because in the end, they just take this on to almost forget about all the other stuff that they need to deal with.
Right.
So you kind of like that person, you know, you schedule their week. And I think like I've once actually realized it's such an important job, because a lot of athletes would plan their week according to training peaks, and you know, you are the one deciding, okay, this is what you can do. So
Yeah.
I always take it really serious, like you can't just go, I'm going to give this athlete this and this, because they plan their lives according to that, and you need to
Right.
make sure that obviously they actually gain from it. So yeah, I take my coaching job like really serious, and I love it. And I always love at races, and I've got like massive range of athletes, like you said. But yeah, I love it, and I think it also teaches me about life without needing to learn the lessons myself, because you work with all age groups as well. So you kind of like look at your athletes doing all of these things, and then you go like, oh, I should remember not to do this when I'm 40.
Yeah, yeah. I love the way you phrase that. Like there'll be a guy thinking, well, can I ask my girlfriend out on a date? No, no, no. I've got to run the next morning. So the coach is really running running my whole life. So what came first? Were you still racing as an age grouper when you decided you wanted to coach, or had you gone professional at that point?
Mhm. So yeah, Gordon, you know what? I actually skipped the whole part of being an age grouper. You know, the normal go like age grouper, win world champs, making a big name, get all the sponsors as age grouper, then go pro. You know that whole
Oh, you
system.
skipped that whole thing,
I
right?
skipped that.
Okay.
I was like, I'm racing 2 years. Age grouper. I'm kind of like okay at it. I'm just gonna go pro.
Yeah.
And if I think back at it, I would go like, I should have like maybe not done it that way. But in my mind, I always knew like this is what I want to do. So kind of like wasting time as an age grouper, getting the experience to like race, say at the world champs and being in the front pack would have also been better, I would say, because I would say my first 2 years of a pro was very hard because I was losing a lot of races, and also you had to balance the financial, which is
Yeah.
actually a massive, massive thing for a pro athlete. It's like obviously it's really, really expensive to try to do this job, but you didn't realize it when you think like you're just going to do that. And that's where the club came in. I was like, okay, what job can I do? Because I was working as a sports scientist at rugby teams at a school. So I was with the Puma rugby team, and so, and then, but it takes a lot of time because you're obviously full time working, and then also over weekends you were working because the sports is always over weekends.
Right.
So I had to
Right.
figure out what can I do where I can be a kind of like a professional and also have something. So I juggled a few jobs. So I started my own club, and yeah, like it wasn't like for the first 2 years, you know, you had like 4 or 5 athletes because it's like something brand new and
Yes.
you really started. So I actually for a year I was actually looking after an old lady, grandma. So
Wow.
she needed some help. She had a one leg as was an amputee leg on the left because of autoimmune illness. So I ended up like helping her getting another leg and starting to walk, and yeah, that was like kind of like just a side job to do and try to just figure out how to do this
Right.
triathlon. So I think
Right.
if you look at results on a page, you go and you would say, oh, you know, Magda started say pro career, but you come 6 or 7 in most of the races. But I don't think people always realize, obviously, the struggle behind the struggle. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there's a lot of things going on trying to just make it. And like I said, I didn't go the normal pathway of first doing age group and getting known by the public or maybe sponsors or so. So I
Yeah.
just kind of like jumped into it. So, but
Well,
like I said, I feel like that's what I want.
I like the way you put that because it's paying your dues. You know, Craig Alexander, who is a multiple Ironman world champion, he was talking about he and his wife were living in their combi van, driving from race to race. And I mean, they were in Australia where there was a lot more opportunity to race. It's not always that easy, particularly in South Africa with minimal pro races in ultra distance triathlon. So yeah, paying your dues, that's respectable. And if it means looking after a little old lady to fund the dream, that's what you got to do. You'll remember this in the future when those big wins come. Speaking about big wins coming, there have been a couple of really beautiful moments in your career in the last couple of years. I know that COVID was obviously super difficult for any professional athlete, but you've had a couple of beautiful moments. What stands out for you? There's one that's in my mind where I said to you, you're going to podium in the morning when I saw you, and then you did podium, and it made me feel like I had something to do with it. Of course I didn't, but it's just a beautiful moment. You know, it's just seeing, because I looked at you that morning and I saw in your eyes you were focused and you were
Yeah.
calm. And I was like, this, she's going to do well today. And you did. What stands out for you in your pro career? Those good moments, those moments when you go, yes, this is worth it.
Yeah, I think this year, 2022 was good in terms of local races. Every race I did here, I actually won. So all the ultra races in Joburg from December onwards, every race, you know, and that gives you confidence. And that morning, going into Ironman South Africa in April, saw you there, and you think like you're now saying you play a part, but small things like that play a massive role in your confidence as an athlete.
Yeah.
Getting there, it's so awesome to do South African local races, especially on an Ironman level. And you guys on the mic every time we enter. Is so friendly, and you just make us feel good, because if you're in Europe, you just enter, nobody says anything. And I remember so well as well when I walked in, and you were just like, okay, welcome, Magda. Look at her, she's going to podium today.
Yeah.
And while walking to my bike, I was like, yes, that is going to happen. So yeah, so
Yay!
it played a massive role. And yeah, and then obviously that was a massive race. And last 10Ks, I had to really fight it out with Nadia for that third position.
Yes.
And yeah, and it ended up for the last 2Ks, me getting in front of her, and got to podium. And that was obviously first international podium, and that
Yes.
was good. And then from there onwards, the whole year was actually really a better year in terms of me growing as an athlete. And obviously kept qualifying for Kona. I get to race in Europe for a while. In June and July I was there, and just get to experience how the Europeans do it. And like you said, the lack of racing here. I know the ultra events and so are massive, because we get the chance to race, but we end up just racing exactly the same people the whole time.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
going to Europe, I think it's really good to just develop you as an athlete all round.
Yeah, and listen, I'm not saying that I have anything to do with this, but I did say something similar to Jade Nicole a couple of years before that, and she also podiumed. So maybe it's me, So before you race, give me a call and ask me what you think. What? No, I'm kidding. You mentioned Nadia. She's a phenomenal athlete. She's actually racing this afternoon in St. George. So we wish her all the best. At the time of recording this, the women are having their day at the Ironman 70.3 World Championships. Let's talk about your trip to Europe, because I followed that journey on socials. You shared a lot of what you were doing, and it just looked like you were working really hard. And I was like, Magda, please remember to go and see something, go and visit a town or do something that isn't training related, but you put in a lot of effort while you were there.
Yeah, like it's so funny, because people always go like, how was Europe? And like, what did you see? And then I was like, a lot of swimming pools. It was
yeah.
And the lake, and yeah, that's it. Like, you literally didn't do anything other than training. So I left with my coach, and the whole purpose of the trip was to train and to get, like, just get that volume in. I did a few races, like I did the German championships. I came fourth there by a few seconds, and it was like rolling starts. So you actually didn't know about, like, I came first but fourth. You know how it is.
Yeah.
And then I did a 5150 race, which I smashed, and I won that one. I felt so good that day. It was on my birthday, so it was my own little present.
So cool.
Yeah, and then I raced Challenge Roth, which is amazing. I think just like having the crowds and just that experience of that race. So that was kind of like the main focus for the Europe trip, and I did quite well there. I came sixth in the end, but
Wow.
I ended up on the run. I just felt this massive pain in my hip, and it was not the normal marathon pain what you feel, but I kind of like, so I couldn't get the run in that I trained for. I had massive pain thereafter, and I was actually scared it's a hip fracture.
Wow.
But when I got back, we went through all the scans and so on, and then I ended up having a massive glute medius torn, and so it was like so I had no running for Kona up until the first week in September, because I was rehabbing this glute medius of mine. But that's how it is. That's part of the sport, and luckily you can always do something else, like swim, bike.
So do me a favor. You hit fourth in the German championships, which is amazing. I mean, that's fantastic. You smack a 5150 out the park, and then you get a top 10 at one of the biggest triathlons, ultra distance triathlons in the world. That is phenomenal. That is incredible. While injured as well, not really knowing what the injury is, then traveling all the way back to South Africa, trying to prepare for a world championship event, the sort of holy grail of Ironman sport, and not being able to run. Let's fast forward for a second. So firstly, well done on your European tour. You are amazing, and I'm a massive fan. And then you went over to Kona. What was the experience like? I know you didn't quite have the race you were hoping you would have, but given everything you'd been through before that, I think it's okay. Mentally, you must just go, cool, I had the experience. Next time we go back and we go for that top 10. What was it like? What was it like to be amongst all those top pros and living the dream as a professional athlete competing at a world championship in Hawaii?
It's amazing. Like, I think, but I am that dorky triathlete that knows everything about Elite Drive and Queen K, and just like being on the road, go like, ooh, this is amazing. And then actually it's just like a piece of tar. But for me
It's
it
not
was,
just a piece
oh,
of tar, it's amazing.
look at this. So actually, I think if you go back, there's nothing. But it was just awesome. I think the whole experience of Kona, the lead up was good. I think just everything, taking this year in account and leading up to the race, getting into race day was just mentally, I was just so fatigued during the
Yeah,
race.
yeah,
And that really got to me. And if I think back now, there's a few things that I would do differently. I wouldn't say physically I wasn't like prepared, like that was all good and the heat was okay, I could manage it. I just think like it was just mentally a really tough day for me. And I was obviously very hard on myself today thereafter and 2 days thereafter, how we quit the sport then. um, but then if you think back, you just realize like, the whole trip was good in terms of how you get to meet all the professional athletes. You also just get a wake up call again, how professional our sport has become and what you still also need to do better in
right.
terms of how to get there. And if I say better, it doesn't always mean train harder, because
Yeah,
that's what our mind always go to. Oh, I need to swim, bike harder. And I don't think that's the case. I
no,
do think our South Africans are strong enough and we train hard enough. There's a few things that definitely, I think the way the professionalism of the sport in terms of the bike equipment and all that little things does play a part. But we'll get there. But yeah, I think the whole vibe the morning of the race and being in that pro racking area, and you just stand there and you get all this massively, you've got Daniela Reeve beside you. I
yeah.
remember during the swim and the swim start, she was like punching me. Like we were fighting it out, and that was kind of like for me so cool. I was like, yes, Daniela punching me. I was almost like, yeah, cool, that's fine, beat me up.
Oh,
So
that's
you got to
beautiful.
experience that a bit, which was great. And on the bike, I was cycling with Heather Jackson, and you're like working together. So all those little experiences of like, yes, this is actually the girls that you've been looking up for years, and here you are racing with them.
Right.
So I will obviously go back, and we'll
Yes.
have to that I know I can have.
Yes.
But massive experience, and definitely a race to go back for.
Well, listen, you weren't there by accident. A couple of things that we need to talk about. One is that there's that classic cliched saying, I'm not sure who said it, who said, if I'm not winning, I'm learning. So from those disappointments, you gain great knowledge, and don't beat yourself up, because we were super proud of you. You represented us very, very well. And then you talk about that preparation, and Matt Troutman said something very similar, where he was like, training better is not about volume. It's about the science of training and how to understand your body and match the peak training you can do to your skill level and your body, and that's how you grow. It's those little incremental changes that you make that make you a better athlete. I'm super stoked that you were there, because the experience you've gained and the wisdom you've gained from that is just amazing. And I have no doubt that you're going to be back there and you're going to get into that top 10. And I used to say to a couple of younger racers like Rudolf Nodia and those guys, when they were starting out, it just takes that one magic day where everything works for the self-confidence and the belief in winning. It comes, and I've seen this with so many triathletes, because I've been involved in the sport now for a fair amount of time. They just have that one day where things work and they go, okay, that's what I'm capable of. And all of a sudden, that belief is so important in a professional sports person's life, particularly in an ultimately ultra competitive sport that you've chosen. Congratulations, by the way. You could have chosen chess, but no, professional triathlete. Let's talk about the rest of the year. Hopefully the body's recovered nicely from Kona, and certainly recovered from the injury. I know you're working with a couple of your athletes. I think some of them are racing quite soon. What is Magda doing for the rest of the year? Do you get a bit of time off? Do you get to reset a little bit, or is it straight back into it?
No, so it's definitely straight back into it. So I've got athletes, actually also 3 athletes at World Champs, 2 girls, they're racing this
Yes.
afternoon while we're recording, and then obviously another guy tomorrow, and then then Mossel Bay Ironman 7.3 is next weekend. So I've got almost my whole club is going, and me myself is
Wow.
going to race that. So I'm going to try to do a fast 7.3. I think it's going to be very nice and challenging because we don't know the course, and it's a little bit of a different scenery. So it's going to be awesome to be part of that. And
Brilliant.
then I'm going to eat one last more Ironman Israel in November.
Ah,
Yeah, so I'll do
ah,
that to just I feel like all the work I've done, I just need to put in the result that I know I can do.
right.
So then after that, oh god, and I'm definitely going to take off then for 2 weeks or so,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
then I'm going to like just like really relax and just take some time off.
Well, listen, when you go to Mossel Bay, Paul Kay will be back in the country and he'll be on the mic there. Unfortunately, I won't be there. I'll be in Turkey. And when you go to Israel, Paul Kay is the lead announcer there. So you've got some South African friends to cheer you on. How good is that?
Oh, that's fantastic. Listen, I don't know how you guys do it. Like, I know with the Polka was obviously at the same point, Kona as well.
Yeah.
And then with the double days. And I just said, like, I don't know how your boys, can do that all day and then 2 days. And it's not just, I think what people forget is it's not just that day of racing. It's like the pre-racking day, and then you do the briefing, and you just like always need to keep everyone, because I remember I walked during Kona that night. I walked away to my accommodation, and I'm just tired, and I think I want to now eat and sleep, and I'm just over this day. And there, you guys, announcers, must be there and go like, "You are an Ironman," for everyone coming, and you just need to be energetic. And I've got so much respect for you guys,
Oh,
because
oh.
you play such a big part in making us feel good and be good. So yeah, really thank you for whatever you do for us as
Oh,
well.
it's an absolute privilege to call someone an Ironman. It really is amazing. I got to say, it's probably one of the best parts of my life is when you say to someone you're an Ironman and they have tears in their eyes, because this is the thing they've been chasing for so long, and we get to share a little bit of that. But thank you. Yeah, no, we're South African. We talk a lot. That's that's how we do it. The trick
Yeah.
when I was young, my mom used to say, "Well, you never stop talking," and now I have a job talking, so
Yeah.
it's all good. So Mags, I insist that after you come back from Israel, that you take at least a week between Christmas and New Year's, and you don't train, and you just enjoy yourself. Have a braai, have a family Christmas, do something lekker. Okay.
Yeah, I know, but I think like I'm just one of those people. Also, I can't sit still, so I
Uh,
think a week off means I would go and play golf, or I would do surfing, or I would go rowing. Like, I would always do something active, and I
yeah.
think sometimes my body screams at me, go like, "Can I just sleep? Can I just sleep?" But if you ask me to do a movie night, I'm like, "Oh, that just sounds horrible." So I'm
Yeah.
always active or doing something. But I will definitely soak up the sun in December somewhere in one of the beaches.
I'm going to tell your family to take your running shoes away so you can't sneak out at 4 o'clock in the morning and go for a run.
So my dad sometimes, like when we are doing, if I've got a little bit of time off, I get a bit grumpy. So we would sit outside in the garden, and he would go, "Just go run, just
Yeah.
go run." I would even take me.
Oh
Just
gosh, that's why we love you. You're humble, you're
go.
fun, you're real, you're successful, and you're an amazing talent. Magda
Thanks,
Niewoudt,
Gordon.
thank you so much for taking time. I know you're working super hard on those programs. It's a Friday afternoon. Off you go, finish it up, and then go and relax. And all the best for Mossel Bay, and all the best for Israel. We are super, super proud of you.
Thank you so much.